I have this image in my head, right, of you had the skateboard in your trunk,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of feel like this is my first memory of you,
Okay.
like, um, and it was like it was it's like a reoccurring theme for me when I think about you. Because if I remember correctly, there was this moment where you were like, "Yo, I want to get into skateboarding," right?
Uh-huh.
And then you had like, "I gotta get the cool skateboard," right? I gotta get
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
I can't be, playing around. I gotta get the full thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then I just like as I've gotten to know you over the years and all of that, it just it always struck me that like when you get into things, you go full force.
That's true.
And I was wondering like where does this come from? Like was this something you always have been or like
I mean, I want to say yes. I
mm-hmm,
think it was just part of who I am and what I do.
mm-hmm,
And as I look back, I think a lot of that plays to your upbringing and sometimes even like your DNA.
mm,
Uh, because for me, as you know, I didn't grow up with my dad, but I have a relationship with him now.
mm-hmm,
And I found out that he was like the type that he would put his mind to something. He said, I got this dream that I'm trying to make happen. And it was a 10-year thing. And
mm,
he was like, I was focused for 10 years to get
mm,
this thing to happen. I was like, wow.
mm,
And not growing up around him, I found that I had that in me too. So I
mm,
think some of it kind of plays to the DNA part
mm-hmm,
because I never knew, but I always knew like if I'm gonna do something, I gotta get into it. I gotta get the best that I can afford
mm-hmm,
or that I can get my hands on
mm-hmm.
and just try to go from there and just build and grow the thing to as big as I can get it to.
Right on,
So
right on. Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And speaking of fathers, right? I also didn't have like a strong relationship with my father. Like I don't think. How long did you live at the house on 15th Street?
Maybe 2 years, I
2 years.
think.
Yeah, and I
Maybe
don't
two
think.
years.
I mean, I don't think you ever met my father, right? Even
No.
though, um, and then I was like around him when I was younger, but then towards my when I was moving into my teenage years and on into adulthood, I didn't have we talked like maybe once twice a year or something like that. And
Hmm.
but as I've gotten older and he's gotten older, we became a lot closer. And then I started to realize how much I was like him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I was like, I don't even know how this happened. You know what I mean? So I guess it
Hmm.
is kind of a DNA thing. Like, I realized he was super funny and charming and like way more charming than I could ever be.
Okay.
But like, I could see like the similarities in our personalities or whatever. So
Yeah.
I can understand how that works. And so you you've over these years, right?
Uh-huh.
You've done like a lot of things. You've had like a couple businesses,
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
businesses.
I was never one that really liked to work for someone. Not
Hmm.
that it was a bad thing, but I always like to have control over what it was that I did.
Hmm.
And, being partners with you, if we go back that far,
Hmm.
that kind of introduced me to just the possibilities of what you can do on your own.
Right.
Because as you know, like when I met you, I was doing some music, you were doing much more music than me, but then I saw what you were able to do with music, and I was like, wow, he's been doing this forever.
Mm,
He's from the stuff at your mom's house in the room upstairs
mm,
to college, and I was like, look at all this great music
mm,
that you had control of.
mm,
And then you said, I want to put it out myself. I want to start a label.
mm,
So for me, that was like that was like the intro to starting something and
mm,
seeing what the possibilities
mm,
were. And it was fun and exciting kind of having the control of your own destiny and like, all right, we made this thing, let's put it out and see if the people like it. Then the people start liking it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start to see, I'm I'm kind of good at this. I can
Mm-hmm.
create something that people enjoy, they can connect to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, great. So then that makes you want to get better. So then you
Mm-hmm.
start practicing and putting in more time, and that's kind of how I've been with, like you said, the multiple things that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So after the music thing, I had built up in myself like, yo, that freedom. Granted, it is hard work. It's the most work you will ever do. The most challenging thing working
Yeah.
for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But in that came a source of freedom. Like, wow, I can control this narrative.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to make more, as far as more product or service or whatever it is that you're doing, I can do that. If I want to do less, I can do that. And then the monetary compensation is reflected about that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I did and do have jobs, it's like no matter if I do more output,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same check. If I
Mm-hmm.
do less output, it's the same check. But I like something about you can grow a thing to as big as you want
Mm-hmm.
and you can control that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So after the music thing, as you know, I was a computer guy but also creative because of the music. And that kind of led me into web design
Right.
because I was like, yo, this is cool. I can take, my technical skills because, I went to school for engineering. I could take that, but I could take my creative stuff, love of music, love of art and drawing. And it just happened to be around that time when the web was starting to become popular. So I was like, yo, I can kind of start doing this. And I was exposed to software. And it's like, well, you can make these pictures on a screen and dance and move around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
This was
that led,
Flash, right? That was
this was
Flash.
Flash. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Flash first came out, I was like, okay, so I can make little men dance around and
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. People started liking it. So what started happening from that was friends and family, people at my church, they were like, hey, can you make us a thing? Can you
Mm-hmm.
do us a thing? We see that you've made a thing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of spun into, well, people like what I do. I'm kind of talented at it. People want to pay me for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can do this full time.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of came to a point where I was working a full time job at the moment, at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff I was doing on the side started matching what I was doing on my day job. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I already know what it feels like to be out there and control your own destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So I left and started doing, web design full time and
Mm-hmm.
was very successful for about a good 7, 8, 9 years just
Wow.
doing it,
Yeah.
and I really liked it. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of hustle, a lot of late nights, you doing everything, trying to market and do the product and do the service and meet the contacts and make
Mm-hmm.
new relationships. But it was something fun in that,
Yeah.
and I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the only reason I stopped is because, at that point I started having a family. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a little bit more not just responsibility, but the responsibility of my time to them.
Oh, okay.
Because as you know, when you're doing your own thing, you can get lost in it for hours and hours and days. Because I know, when you make a song, you might wake up at like 6 in the morning, an idea pops in, and
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing how ideas are because they're like this little thing that kind of comes in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of nowhere and it takes control of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the driver in the car and they
Mm-hmm.
be like, get in the car, and you be like, well, where are we going? It's like, we don't know, we're going.
Right.
So the idea kind of just drives you and you could drive for days and hours, and then you wake up and you be like, man, I woke up at 7, it's now 12 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
my whole day.
Yeah.
When you got a family, they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear dad or mom has been all day. Like, yo, I gotta eat. I need to spend some time with you. I need to do some things. So that was like the main reason why I was like, all right, well, let me get something a little bit more steady, just for family's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of put an end to the web design stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, technology had changed and